Good morning. Everybody hear me okay with this microphone? Yeah? Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here today. I'm going to give you just a really quick introduction of what this morning is going to look like for everybody, and then we're going to split up into two groups for a while. You'll get to hear sort of the stories of the different Holocaust survivors that are photos, both in front and the back of the auditorium. And then we will be hearing from our Holocaust survivor, Carol Roth, after we do this session with the portraits. So let me introduce myself. My name is Clifford Lester. I am the son of two Holocaust survivors. Both my mom and dad were Holocaust survivors. And my father, whose photo is in the back there, lived until 97, and he did not talk much about his experiences during the war. My mom, sadly enough, she passed away at the age of 77. She had quite an interesting story, which you'll hear more about this morning. She passed away young, but she used to speak to many, many students, just like you all. For the years that she was alive. She grew up with Anne Frank. Do you all know Anne Frank? The Diary of Anne Frank? Looks like you do. Well, you're going to hear stories about her experiences with Anne Frank. I'll just tell you briefly that my mom is written about in Anne Frank's diary. For many years, when she would tell me that she was in the diary, I didn't believe her. It's like, how could that be true that you were actually in Anne Frank's diary, and Anne Frank writes about her in the diary? We'll save the story for when we break up into groups. But what happened was, when my mom passed away in 2004, I was going through some of her things, and I came across hundreds and hundreds of letters that students like you had written to her, telling her how much her story had impacted their lives. So her story, as well as other survivors like you'll hear today, revolves around some basic themes. And you have to think about what many of the survivors, most of the survivors, not all, have been through such horrific times in their life during World War II, under the Nazi rule. And yet the themes that survivors talk about have to do with some very important ones that affect us all. Number one is gratitude. Survivors, as a rule, I photographed over 100 survivors. These are very grateful people, grateful for their lives that they have today, even after having gone through such horrible times in their life. Another big theme, one that my mom would talk about a lot, is how we treat one another. She survived the war. She lost her brother in Auschwitz in a concentration camp. He was murdered there. But after surviving the war, my mom would come to this country and land in New Orleans. And the first thing she noticed when she landed in New Orleans was how African Americans were treated in the South. She was appalled. She could not believe that she would come to this country and see people treated that way. And that was in 1947. That experience that she had really motivated her to speak out on behalf of her fellow human beings as to how we should treat one another, that nobody should be treated the way that she was treated. No human being should be treated that way. Another theme that comes up quite often is courage. Courage to make it through difficult times. That's a big one. And so even though we go through difficult times in life, the survivors, those who made it through, had a lot of courage to face those things that came their way, those horrible things. Many lost a lot of family members, many saw horrible things, but they would hang on. And the bottom line theme that they had at the end of it all was hope. Hope that there would be a brighter tomorrow. Those who have that hope, maybe them would survive because of that hope. So you'll hear about those themes today as we talk about the survivors. Now, as I mentioned, I photographed a lot of survivors, and I want to tell you very briefly before we break up into groups, kind of what you're seeing in these portraits. When my mom passed, and I started learning about her experiences in the classroom, I knew that from what I read from the students, the letters, that I had to figure out a way to keep her story alive. I was a photography professor at the time at a college down in Orange County, and I gave a lot of thought to what I might do to keep her story alive, to keep it going, even though she had passed away. I thought, as a photography professor, the best way that I could do it would be to start photographing other survivors and sharing their stories along with my mom's. So that's what I did. So I photographed many survivors, and today you're seeing a few of them that you'll learn a little bit more about their lives, their experiences, and their stories. I had a lot of students at the time that I knew would be looking at the work that I did, their teacher, and questioning how I went about photographing these survivors. So I had to give a lot of thought, because I knew I would be critiqued by them. Usually I'm the one who does the critiquing of their work. I knew that I'd be critiqued by them, and I gave a lot of thought to how I would do this. So each survivor, for the most part, I decided I would photograph on a white background, on a simple background with no distractions, so that each of these images would be representative of just them, without any distractions. Excuse me. So that was step one, and most of these are done against a white background. Now the picture of my mom in the back that you'll see, and I think it's right here as well. That was just a simple snapshot I took of her 1 week before she passed away. And so that one doesn't follow my rules. So number one, white background, and number two, I would spend a lot of time learning about their lives, their stories, before I would photograph them. I would have a camera. If you imagine, I have a camera set up, and I'd be next to the camera, looking them in the eye as I asked them questions, usually starting with what their life was like before the war, and how did things change once the war started. What were some of the challenges they faced and experiences they had during the war? And finally, how did the war end for them? What was going on in their life when the war ended? And lastly, what message they would have for generations that followed that would learn about their story. So the camera's here, I'm looking at them in the eye, and I'm asking them all these questions. What you're seeing in these portraits is not posed, it's not staged in any way. You're seeing the emotions of these survivors, these courageous people, as they're sharing their stories with me. Usually each session runs about 2 hours and involves 100 or 200 portraits, snaps of them. And I have to go back afterwards. I have every session recorded so I can go back, listen to their testimony, their stories, and try to connect the dots between what photo of theirs relates best to their story. And we have these on the halls at Cypress College where I taught. And my objective is this: when students walk down the hallways, they'll be interested enough in what they see to want to learn more about their stories. That was my goal. And being here today is a result of the success of people wanting to learn more, the importance of their stories, and the fact that we want to share them with students like you. Now there's a saying, maybe you heard of a survivor by the name of Elie Wiesel. He spoke a lot after the war, he's written books and so forth. And he had a powerful message that he would share. He would say that if you hear the story of a survivor, you become a witness to their testimony. And maybe you've heard that there are those who deny the Holocaust. It's our role as those who have heard these stories to become a witness and to stand up and share the stories of their lives so others will know that it happened. They'll learn from their experiences, and that everybody who is a witness to these testimonies now becomes a witness and and passes the stories forward. We're at a time in history in their lives that survivors, sadly, they go to way too many funerals. They all become dear friends of mine, ones that I photographed. And I go to too many funerals, and sadly we're losing survivors very quickly at this point, and firsthand testimonies of the Holocaust won't be around for us to hear any longer. So fortunately today, in a little while, you'll hear the testimony of Carol, who will share with you her story and her experiences. Before we get to Carol, though, we're going to now break up into two groups. And the group that stays up here, I'm going to share with you a little bit about these survivors and their stories. And Raul in the back is a colleague of mine. We each have learned about different stories more in depth of these survivors, and Raul will share with you the stories of the survivors in the back there. So thank you for your attention. I hope you find this morning very meaningful. I'll go ahead and have you guys break into two groups now. Thank you.
Since you're seated the way you are, we're just going to leave the front half up front and the back half will go this way. So from right where I am, stand up. So 7 3 7. My back leg stand up. You guys can sit back and see on that one.
Can you hold this for a moment? Marco,
What?
can you just hold that for a moment so I can move this up closer? It's live streaming.
Okay. Anyways, I talk so much these days, my voice gets hoarse, so I'll bear with me. Can you guys all hear me okay? Awesome. Okay. So I want to start with a little more information about my mom. She's the one who sort of made this all happen for me. Yeah, 22 years ago, it would be her talking instead of me. Now you got to listen to me, and I know that I always call the survivors like Carol, I call them the rock stars. They're the ones who went through it. I just do my best to try to share their stories the best I can. And of course, my mom's story. She didn't talk too much about her experiences during the war, but she had a few little things that she shared. Before we get into that, I think one thing that's really important is to try to visualize as best you can what it might be like to have your life, your normal, good life that you're living right now, change, like overnight. To me, this is one thing that really helps with the idea of gratitude, being grateful for our lives. I'm guilty of finding things to complain about, and I work hard to keep that from happening. So think about my mom and her life, and she and her brother were living in a town in Germany called Hanover, and they had a really good life up until she was like 10 years old. Her brother lived in a nice neighborhood. I saw the house that she lived in. It's a really nice neighborhood. And when I was there, I visualized her riding her bike up and down the street with her friends, playing different sports. Her family was pretty well off. They had a maid and a nanny. They traveled a lot together. She played ping pong, volleyball. She just loved life. She was a happy person. And then one day, about 1937 or so, she goes to school. You guys probably know what a swastika is, the Nazi symbol. Somebody had carved one or written one on her desk. That was the defining moment where her life changed. People knew she was Jewish, like her teacher. In a group like this,
the teacher would take the Jewish students and have them sit separately from the rest of the class. On her way home from school, she would get called names. And people would bully her. Her bike got taken away. She had a curfew. They had to be home by 8 o'clock at night. She couldn't play with anyone other than her Jewish friends. The non-Jewish friends weren't allowed to play and associate with Jewish friends. They couldn't travel anymore. Life started getting pretty tough for her, pretty much overnight. Her parents had to pull her out of public school and put her in a private school to protect her. And as things continued to get worse, they started looking at what they would do next. There was a lot of pressure. Her father had gotten a ticket on a boat to come to the United States. They had the ticket, but her father had his own business, and he resisted. He did not want to leave his business behind. For 2 years, things kept getting worse and worse, and finally, they all had to get on a train, leave town, pack up what they could, and they moved to Amsterdam, the home of Anne Frank. Amsterdam was like 2 years behind where Germany was in terms of the progress of the war. So they moved into a nice neighborhood. Her father started his business again. She was able to go to school. This time she went to a Montessori school, same school that Anne Frank went to. Now, Anne Frank was 2 years younger than her. But my mom had a diary. I'm sorry, my mom had I'll share with you. So she had a guy that she was dating. And this guy ended up dating Anne Frank. So like I said, my mom said that she had this boyfriend that later became Anne Frank's boyfriend, and that Anne writes about her in the diary. So here's what she wrote. Now the guy's name, depending on, there's 4 versions of the diary. One of them, this guy's name's Helmut. I don't know what the other names were, but in this diary, Anne calls him Hello. She had nicknames for the different people that she would write about. In the diary that I saw, before we went to Anne Frank's house, Anne Frank called my mom Fanny, which is why I had a hard time believing that this was really her, because she's calling her Fanny in the diary. It's like, Mom, how do you know this is really you? Like, it's me. In this diary, this version, Anne calls her by her name, Ursula. So Anne says, Hello, which is the boy's name, used to have a girlfriend named Ursula. It's on page 14. I know her too. She's perfectly sweet and perfectly boring. Ever since he met me, Hello has realized that he's been falling asleep at Ursula's side. So I'm kind of a pep tonic. You never know what you're good for. That's my mom. Later, Hello, the guy, writes in the diary, and Anne, I guess, quotes him. She said, Anne, my grandmother thinks you're too young for me to be seeing you on a regular basis. She says I should be going home to the Lowenbachs, which was my mom's maiden name. But you probably know that I'm not going out with Ursula anymore. Anne says, no, I didn't know that. What happened? Did you two have a fight? And Hello says, no, nothing like that. I told Ursula we just weren't suited for each other anymore. So I thought it was better for us not to be together anymore. But that she was welcome at my house anytime. And I hoped I would be welcome at hers. Actually, I thought Ursula, this amazed me because my mom was a very quiet person. And here, hello says, actually, I thought Ursula was hanging around another boy. It's like, I can't imagine my mom dating all these guys. And she was like 14 years old, hanging around another boy. And I treated her as if she were. But that wasn't true. And then my uncle said I should apologize to her. But of course, I didn't feel like it. That's why I broke up with her. That was just one of the many reasons. Just like a sad story, right? So my mom, they all would hang out when we were together in Amsterdam. I saw the place. There was a large group of Jewish girls that would hang out at an ice cream parlor called the Oasis. And that's where they would all, hang out and do whatever they do as young teenage girls. As the war started progressing, things started getting worse now in Amsterdam. And it was time that Anne and others started looking for a hiding place. They couldn't find one right away. Anne found one sooner than my mom. In the meantime, you probably know, you can see here this yellow star. This is a picture of my mom when she was 16, and you can see in the corner there, they all had to wear yellow stars. And I have this yellow star of hers. I have 3 of them that she actually wore. So this is a star. I don't know how things actually ended up making it out of the country after the war ended, but this was the actual star that she wore. And I also have, you can look later, this is a picture of her family the day before her brother got taken away to Auschwitz, to the concentration camp. And you'll see later, the look on their faces is just so somber. They didn't realize at that time, they knew he was leaving, but they didn't realize that would be the last time they ever saw him. This is impossible for us to imagine, but I think about it a lot. I have one brother. She had one brother. What would it be like to never see your brother or sister again? And to know they learned after the war what happened to him. Horrible, horrible things. One message my mom would share and other survivors share is the importance, as much as there may be days that you don't get along with your siblings or your parents, to think about these things, to tell them that you love them, to make sure to say goodbye. Because I remember very clearly in my mind, one survivor told me she never got to say goodbye to her parents. And she's lived with that the rest of her life. In 1943, the Nazis had come for my mom 7 times. 7 times they came for her, and I think every time I go over that in my mind, any one of those times would mean I wouldn't be here today. I would have never been born. 7 times. One time her father bribed them. Another time a Nazi thought that my mom reminded them of his sister. And then the last day before what they call the final solution, the last day they were going to round up all the Jews, in the morning, still no hiding place, 12 Nazis showed up in the streets outside of their house. Imagine now, it's hot outside, like it's going to be today. Her mom told them all to wear 3 layers of clothes because they thought they were going to get taken away. So they're spending the whole day wearing 3 layers of clothes in the heat. They didn't have any air conditioning. And they're hearing screams from the nearby homes, and the Nazis are taking families away. And my mom's family is just waiting for their time to come. It didn't happen until the end of the day. The Nazis showed up at the door. My grandmother welcomes them in. She says, it's like a miracle. She says, you know what? You guys look tired. It's been a rough day. I can't believe this. When I think about it, why don't you come in and have some lemonade? So they sit down. My grandmother offers them lemonade. They sit down and relax. And at the end of this little break for them, one of the Nazis says, you know what? You've been so kind to us. We're going to let someone else come by and get you. They didn't take it. Shortly after that, they found a hiding place. It was a non-Jewish family with 14 other Jews living in a big home. This brings up another theme from all this, and that is that what would we do to save the lives of our friends or family or others, knowing that if we get caught, it would be our lives just as much as it would be their lives that would be taken. Think about that a lot. How courageous are we? How courageous would I be to save someone else's life? As a non-Jewish person, to save someone else's life because I care about others so much. This is what that family did. They took him in, and there's 5 families living there in bedrooms until one night at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's a true story. I always, when I share this, I think it's like right out of movies. There's pounding at the door, 4 in the morning. The owner of the home brings them all together and takes them down into a hiding place underneath the house.
Like all Jews.
In the meantime, they're pounding at the door still, and finally they end up breaking the door down just as everyone gets down into this hiding place, which is below a dining room table. They put a carpet over it and then the table. The Nazis come storming in, shouting, "Where are those dirty Jews? We know you're hiding them here. Where are they? We heard they're here." The owner of the home had a picture of Hitler on the wall. He says, "We wouldn't hide Jews here. Look, there's a picture of Hitler right here on the wall. Here's some Nazi magazines. We wouldn't do that." They're looking everywhere. They're starting to calm down and think, well, maybe they're not there. And then they go to one of the bedrooms. And they see a bed that wasn't made. They start screaming again, "Why is this bed not made? Where are they? I know they're sleeping here." And they said, "No. Sometimes the Nazis bring their wives here and they need to rest during the night." So this Nazi had to leave early and he didn't get a chance to make his bed. So I guess they believed him and they finally went off. From that day on, for the next 18 months, they had to spend, all 15 had to spend each night in a space underneath the house 18 inches high, in the dirt, with the rafters or whatever, the beams underneath the house. 15 in this little space every single night for a year and a half until the war ended. Finally, the war ends. Down below the house, there was a baby born. Another lady got very ill and had a gallbladder attack. My mom learned how to play chess. It was a tough time for them. But fast forward to after the war and coming to this country, after what she witnessed in the South, my mom made a point every morning, this a week before she died. And this is the way I remember her. Always smiling. She would tell us that every morning she would make a choice to be happy and to be thankful for her life. Every morning. Just to sort of wipe away her memories of the horrors of having lost her brother. And so she would share that with students. I want to jump now to another happy story, which is, well, it's Leah Bernstein. So I shouldn't say it's happy, other than it's happy the way she lives her life. So Leah was a young child and she survived the war in Romania. She had to go into hiding. For over 3 years, she's in hiding, evading the Nazis. People were kind and helped to bring them food because they couldn't show their faces. The story here is really more about what happened after the war for her. She survived. She comes to the United States. And in Orange County, where I live, about 5 years ago, there's a murder that happens of her grandson. Her grandson. Leah went through the Holocaust,
That is how it works.
came to this country. She's living her life.
Review all the folks that have gotten on.
Her grandson had a friend, or an acquaintance, I should say. He was a high school friend who later became a neo-Nazi, skinhead kind of person.
Gas chamber. Those that can work,
He stabbed
work.
Leah's grandson, Blaze, it's in the news, 27 times. This happened just shortly before my photo session with Leah. And I mentioned to you, I do my homework. I find out about the survivor's story before I go to photograph them. And I'm thinking,
Can't.
this is going to be a rough one. She's lost her grandson. And who do I find? I find Leah smiling like the way my mom does. And I'm thinking to myself, how can this be? I take over 200 photos of her. There's maybe 5 where she's not smiling, where she's getting a bit emotional. Over 200 photos. And at the end of it all, when I'm listening to the tape, and I'm trying to figure out which photo to show, I'm thinking, most of these are she's smiling. But how can I pick a picture of her smiling after she just lost her grandson? So I called her son. I said, and her husband. I said, I don't know what to do. You know, most of my photos are very emotional. Subjects are very emotional. How could I possibly show Leah smiling after what happened in her life? The answer that I received from every family member was just very simple. That's Leah. Leah makes a choice every day. This is the life that was given to her. She makes a choice every day to embrace life and to be happy. That's it. And I think to myself, it's such a powerful lesson that someone could go through what she's been through and make the choice to be happy. For 3 years before I started teaching, I was an emotional first aid counselor. We were volunteers. We got called to horrible situations. And one call I'll never forget, which I won't get too gruesome, but it was very sad. As a 14-year-old kid, probably about your age, had a girlfriend that broke up with him. He got very depressed, and he shot himself in the heart. He could not see tomorrow or the next day. He was so immersed in pain from this breakup. He couldn't see beyond that. I think about Leah all the time. The choice that we have to make to go on, even in spite of having faced difficult times. Let me jump to, which one do we want to go to next here? Let's go to Dr. Eisenbach here. He just passed away at the age of 103. 103. He was a dentist. He was a good friend of mine. He was a dentist, and he practiced dentistry until he was 94 years old. I don't know any dentists that are 94 years old. I'd be a little nervous about going to him, you know. His hands maybe, although his hands weren't shaky, but people loved him. He loved dentistry, and he practiced for many years. Dr. Eisenbach lived in Poland. He lived in the ghetto of Poland. And the Nazis, they call liquidated. There came a point where all the people in these ghettos where everyone's crammed together get taken to the different camps. And they know what their fate's going to be. It's not a good one. Dr. Eisenbach had already lost his mother, his sister, and other family members. At the end of the war, he had lost over 100 family members. 100 family members. There came a point where it was only, I call him Jack, and I cherish this because I'm very respectful of doctors and others. As a teacher, I always try to find out what people want to be called. And one day, Dr. Eisenbach said, Cliff, my friends call me Jack. So I'm honored to call him Jack. He finds out they're going to be taken away, those that are in this ghetto, and him and his brother go into hiding. They escape from the ghetto and go into hiding. All the others were taken from that ghetto, taken away to the camps, to their horrible fate. But him and his brother went into hiding for quite a while, and then they got caught. Dr. Eisenbach was 5 years older than his brother, and he was going to have to report to the SS headquarters where they would take him to Auschwitz. And he knew what that meant, death. His brother didn't have to report. But his brother told him, and this is the title of a book that he wrote. The title is Where You Go, I Go. His brother loved him so much that he went with him. And they were on the train to Auschwitz. And he'll talk about the miracles in his life, and many survivors talk about the miracles that they experienced in their life. They got to the gates of Auschwitz, and the train stopped. Just short of probably certain death. And it turned around and went to a munitions camp where they would build ammunition for the Nazi soldiers. So his life was saved. He spoke all the time about the love that his mother shared with him, telling him and his siblings that they were her most precious possessions. And even though his mother died before the war from an illness, he would remember that message from her. And he would tell us that that is what carried him through the war, knowing how important he was to his mom and his family. He went through the worst. He saw the worst. He saw another brother of his shot right before his eyes. But his message is very similar to many others. He says this: no matter how dark the clouds, and I just love this because he just passed away less than a year ago, and I was on my way to his funeral, and my rabbi called me, and he said, and I'm getting chills just thinking about this, my rabbi said, Cliff, it's up to us now to share his story, because he shared it so many times to so many students, and now he's not with us. But my role when I started taking these portraits was to make sure we would learn their stories and continue to hear them. So his message, no matter how dark the clouds, and he had this real gravelly voice, no matter how deep you are in the pits, there's always hope that the sun will come out again. And that was what he would share so many times. He lived that in his life. He shared that with others. It was so important for him to let others know to hang on, to make it through those tough times, to help you to get to a better time in your life. This gentleman here is 100 years old when I photographed him. His name's Leon Weinstein. He was a Warsaw Ghetto uprising fighter. There were thousands of Jews crammed into this area of Poland and Warsaw. And it came a point, thousands and thousands, that they decided collectively they were going to fight against the Germans. He was one of the fighters, and if you have a chance to go on our website, there's a little videotape of his. You can hear his voice. It's a real gravelly, powerful voice. He talks about the resistance that they put up fighting. It turns out very few of those who fought survived, but he was one who did. Before that happened, though, him and his wife had a young baby. Young baby. At the time that the war started, their daughter Natalie was 1.5 years old. And they knew that she would not survive if they all stayed together. This thing just went off, I don't know if you're. They knew that she would not survive if they stayed together. So what they did is they put a cross around her neck and wrote a little note saying that her parents had died in the war, and they took her to a police station and dropped her off in a little basket, 1.5 years, knocked on the door, and then left her. Went around the corner and waited until the policeman opened the door of the station and took her in. After that, to survive the war, the husband and wife, Leon and his wife, had to separate also, and he would never see his wife again. But Leon survived. After the war, he decides to go back to the police station to try to find his daughter. He asks the policeman if they remember the little girl. How could you not remember the little girl that was dropped off at the station? They said, of course we remember. We took her to a convent. So they take her to a convent. Leon hops on his bicycle and rides his bike to every convent in Poland, trying to find his daughter. Now she's 5 years old. Catholics in the convent also risk their lives, obviously, when they shelter others. Another heroic thing that was done many times by Catholics and others during the war. You should know that. So at the very last convent, he sees a girl who has a birthmark that he recognized, and it's his daughter, Natalie. And they're reunited. Now, first of all, I have 2 kids and 3 grandkids, and I can't begin to imagine this thought of dropping off my daughter and thought I'd never see her again, right? But thank goodness he found her. They were reunited, and they came to the States together. And I should say, lived happily together. They were very close with each other. I photographed her as well, and it's just such a nice relationship. Another theme. You've heard of Schindler's List, the movie? Schindler's List? Yes, no? Some of you? Schindler's List is another story of what I think is heroism. So this lady on the end, there's a movie Steven Spielberg did called Schindler's List, and it's a story about a man who was not Jewish, that had factories and places of employment, and he saw a pathway to hiring Jews to work for him with the thought that this could save Jewish lives. Ludmila was 99 at the time that I photographed her, and I was so excited to photograph her because it was the first time I had met somebody who was on Schindler's List. Went into her home, and her daughter had prepared this table full of pastries. Pastries like my mom used to make and my grandparents used to make when we go to visit them. And they insisted, I was so anxious to photograph her, but they insisted that I eat some pastries before we ever started doing any photography. So I had to do that. And finally, we started photographing her, and she would share her story of having been on Schindler's List and telling me that this man saved over 1,200 lives by giving them jobs and sort of sheltering them from the Nazi soldiers by employing them. Amazing stuff that people do. We call them righteous Gentiles, people who are not Jewish that risk their lives to save the lives of others. And she's another example of someone who's so grateful for her life and so grateful that people would stand up for her and make a difference. Joe Alexander, he's 103 right now. He's still kicking. And let me tell you something, be careful. He still drives. If you get on the road, watch out for Joe. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a 103-year-old, but he still drives, and he has a girlfriend 30 years younger than he is. Joe is like the rock star of the Holocaust survivors. He's like the rock star. Joe has been in 12 different concentration camps, work camps, death camps, and survived. And the first thing that he does, a camp like Auschwitz, they have to get the tattoo. So what he does, before I even photograph him, he pulls up a sleeve and shows you his tattoo. And that's Joe. Joe will tell you that he survived the war to share his story. To share his story of survival and hope and how we care about one another. And that we need to speak up when you see somebody being treated poorly. Just speak up. He's a little guy. He's short, but he's powerful. And just a great, great guy. I'm going to finish with Gerda. Has anybody heard of the movie Freedom Riders? Anybody heard that? Some of you. Okay, so Freedom Riders is a great story. It's a story about a lady who was her first year of teaching in a tough part of Long Beach. She ends up in the classroom, and she's got all people who were affiliated with gangs in her class. And she asked the groups, how many of you know about the Holocaust? Not a single one raised their hand. How many of you have been shot at or beat up because of being in a gang? And they all raised their hand. Well, the very first day of class, she sees this piece of paper being passed around. Someone had drawn a picture of one of the African American students in the class, but they had exaggerated his lips, made his lips really big. And the teacher, her name's Erin Gruhl, she sees this. Now, she comes from Newport Beach, a very nice, rich area. She's teaching in the rough part of Long Beach. And she sees this happen, and she's furious. Her first week of school. And she starts screaming at the class, saying, how could you possibly do this? This is what they did to the Jews during the Holocaust. So she incorporated Holocaust education into the class. Somebody found out about it. Some very wealthy person flew all the students back to the Holocaust Museum in Washington. They would learn a lot about these themes of gratitude and caring for one another and hope for a better tomorrow. All these things they would learn in this class. And then ended up doing this movie called The Freedom Riders. They all ended up writing a diary about their experiences. And I've met several of the Freedom Riders from that movie because after Gerda passed away, I'm reading her book, and the last chapter of the book is titled Freedom Riders. It turns out that Gerda was a speaker in that classroom. One of her friends who was also a Holocaust survivor, and her neighbor, she found out was a speaker in that classroom, so she volunteered to speak there as well. Gerda was a fabulous lady, and we honored her by making a video about her. And the day of our Holocaust memorial event, I managed to get, so here's kind of a neat story. I was trying to get the teacher to introduce the video, Erin Gruhl, the actual teacher. Well, I heard from the other Freedom Riders, they have an organization, that she was busy. She speaks all around the world, and that she couldn't make it. But another one of the Freedom Riders would come and speak about Gerda, one of the original people in the class. So a rabbi I know, it turns out, knows this teacher. And I'm telling the rabbi, man, I'd really love to have Erin Gruhl come and talk the day that we present this video. He said, well, if you need me to do something, let me know. And I said, well, I'll get back to you. No sooner did I leave him that day and go out to my car, I got a phone call from one of the Freedom Riders We said, Cliff, turns out Aaron's schedule just changed, the teacher, and she's going to be able to make it to speak. So I'm sure he called. He wouldn't admit to it. I'm sure he called her and made arrangements. Now, if you get a chance, see the movie. It's an amazing movie. Erin Gruhl is an incredible teacher. What she did, what she accomplished, and the way she speaks, now she's sought after all around the country, maybe around the world, to speak about her experience with these students. Gerda, I walked into her home. She's listening very loud, maybe she was hard of hearing, to this beautiful music. Listening to this music, her whole house was full of music. She was a young child when the war began. She had to go into hiding. She spent 6 months. Her father, when they were coming to liquidate the ghetto, her father put her in a cellar at 6 years old for 6 months. Couldn't talk. They would bring her food. She had to stay in there by herself. When she made it through that period, they found a Catholic home for her to live with, where they had a daughter who had died as an infant, but they had her birth certificate. They passed it on to Gerda, and she would live the life of that family's daughter. And thanks to this family, she survived the war. Gerda, as you can tell from her photo, is just the most delightful person, so positive, so optimistic about life. It was such a loss to have her pass away. I'm going to leave it at that because I want to get to Carol, our Holocaust survivor. Do you guys have any questions before we kind of switch gears here? Anybody have any questions? You're taking good notes, I know that. All right, so we're going to kind of shift gears as Raul finishes up, and we'll have Carol speak. Thank you guys for your attention. Sorry? Yeah, we can do that, sure. Yeah, we do that. It needs to be there.
Later this month.
Moving over.
Yeah.
Okay. Sabrina, he said you can have them start moving over too.
Yes.
Familia today?
Yes.
I went after 13 years.
So. Are there any questions about what we talked about or about this? Speaking up to that. Okay. Sorry, there were no questions. You're welcome. Thank you guys.
We're gonna sit over here and we're gonna listen to Carol. No, I didn't push it. Okay.
Okay, you guys ready to settle in again for a little bit? Thank you for your attention, listening to Raul and myself. Means a lot to me to share these stories, to have you hear them, witness their stories. It's one thing to see the photos, it's another. It's an honor for me to share with you a survivor who's been through it. Carol Roth is her name, and she's going to share with you her experiences of her life. And again, I thank you all for being here today. Carol?
Thank you. Shalom. Shalom, if you don't know what it means beautiful words. It means peace. It means hello. And it means goodbye. So I will say shalom, children. And I'm here to tell you this story about the other side of the coin. I hope I can read it. My heroes. My father came to mind. I thought of him first, of course. Upon reflecting on my life, the family I lived with, the entire family and village, who saved my life with their love and compassion. So many, the brave soldiers who gave their life for us. So many heroes, all had an impact upon my life. They remain in my heart and mind to this day. I'll begin with the memories of my first hero, my father, the lighting on, okay, who fought to save lives in France. My father, whom I recall telling me, treat each day as if it was a Sunday. He taught himself to play the violin. He often told me that violin music is the closest notes to God. That's how I live my life, each moment at a time. He taught me to appreciate life. I saw him once a week on Sunday after the marché. Marché means the marketplace. He tried so hard to make a living to pay for my keep. I had family. I had an Uncle Max and Tom Cecil, and they did not want me after the war. My mother's brother and sister. I could understand during the war. I was only 2 years old, and I would have given away everyone who was hiding with my crying. After they just didn't want me, so my father let me live with the family. They were my family, and I certainly consider them my heroes. I was so spoiled and I became their child. When I was almost 6, the war ended. I recall the Boche. The Boche in French means the Nazis. And believe me, children, we have plenty of them here. And I hope and pray they never get to any of us. A whole platoon invading the village, demanding a child named Claire. The family knew they were coming. There was a trap door in the middle of the dining room, covered with an Aubusson rug. We had no phone, so the people came from door to door until they reached my family to tell them the Boche were in the village, looking for me. Within 10 minutes, they had me in the cellar with a pot chamber, food, blanket, and rats. And ran back up and covered the trap door. They came in the house, the Nazis, inspected it, and did not find me. My family was ready with liquor while Marianne, my godmother, and Parrain, my godfather, cooked. They drank and ate and left for the cabaret down the hill. The girls from the village were ready with liquor also. They drank themselves into a stupor. The village saved my life. That's why he said it takes a village to raise a child. They all took a risk when they did that, the villagers. They did not think about themselves. They simply loved me. The day the war ended, I recall playing in the street Rue de la Source, when suddenly there was such a commotion, such a singing coming down from the hill, up the hill. Rue de l'Amérique, it was called Street of America. Columns of young, bright, smiling faces, singing in a language I did not understand, English. They were dancing and singing, and they picked me up. And I recall they gave me something called chewing gum. And I remember I said, I'm not allowed to chew gum. Today you can do anything you want, they said. I forgot to mention the reason Papa had to find a place for me is that my mother was arrested on a bus. She was on her way to the city to buy a bit of milk for me and never came home. My poor mother, how scared she must have been. She was sent to Auschwitz, the end. My papa said I cried for two days for my mom, and he knew he would never see her again. I talked to both my parents every night. Their picture that hang in my bedroom at the time. Now I don't have them there. I feel like they are watching over me. They are truly my guardian angels. I continue to live with Marianne, Beth, Parrain René, Oncle Cyril, and Tom John. I love them all, my heroes. They gave me the best education. My manners were impeccable. My days were spent in beauty. I saw beauty all around me. They inspired me to be good, polite, respectful of everyone. Most of all, they loved me. They fought for me. I recall an incident involving a teacher. She hated me because I was a Jew. I didn't even know what it was to be a Jew. I didn't know I was Jewish. I was raised totally Catholic. Anyways, it was playtime and I had to use the restroom and there was no paper. So I asked my friend, I thought was my friend, for paper, and she replied she didn't have any. So I used my hanky and I threw it out. Madame Troussard, my teacher, walked into the front of the class. She spread the dish towel and said, "Who used this towel in the bathroom?" "Claire, you did that." I didn't know it was coffee. She dipped the towel in it. I was terribly embarrassed. And when I walked home from school, the boys threw stones at me. The story of what I supposedly did spread to the boys' yard. I came home bleeding and crying. My family was so angry, they changed my school. Eventually, I had to go back to the village. I have to sit down, excuse me. Oh. Okay, thank you. Okay, because the other one was not in my district. All four heroes fought for me. I graduated elementary school. I had beautiful long hair. So I was sent to the beauty shop. I have to show you the picture. This is my hair then. Oh, sorry. My hair then, and when 3 weeks later, I had hardly any hair. It was so short because the lady who was the beauty shop, the owner, she was so mean and so jealous because I had beautiful long hair, and her little girl was killed by a bomb. And I felt very bad for her, but it wasn't my fault. So she said, it's because of you that my daughter died. You should have died because you're a Jew. So, oh, where am I? So I was sent to the beauty shop. Simone was a bitter human being. She burned my crown in glory. I cried because it was so painful. Someone ran to tell my family and they came running, but it was too late. My burned hair fell all around me. I could not go like this to my graduation, but all four of them told me I looked beautiful in my short hair. Simone yelled, "You should not be alive. My little girl got killed by a bomb because of you, because you're a Jew. You should not be alive." Her husband George was my father's best friend. Once a week they got together for lunch. He cried when he heard what happened. Forgive her, she's insane. So I forgave her too. She was so ill. I went to my graduation in tears that ended up with pride. I won the biggest honor. I still have the book and I treasure it. I did not go to L'École Moyenne. Okay, this is the book. This is the big deal. I have to show you. It's in French, so if you know French, you can come up and look at the book. Oh, if you know French, you can come up and look at the book. It says prix offert par le prisonnier de guerre de Couillé-le-Verval à l'élève classée première en 6e année. That means prize offered from the prisoners of the veterans of Couillé-le-Verval. That was the village I lived in. À l'élève classée of the student who was first in class in 1952, 1953. That was a year before I came here. It called the Queer Curd. And I treasure that. Of course, it's falling apart, but I love that book. That was the prize. Now I have to find my place here. Okay. Oh, so I did not go to L'École Moyenne. I went straight to that middle school. I went straight to the lycée, that means the high school, in Charleroi. That was 1 year before I came to America. My family was so proud. The trouble began with a priest in the village. He was not well educated and tried to convince my family to change my religion. I'll be damned to hell if I didn't change my religion. That's what he says to me. I was just a little girl. I was like 11 years old. to change my religion. And okay, my father wrote to my Aunt Sarah, Uncle Morris in LA to take me to America. And I did not know them. I did not wish to come to America. So they came and I did not want to go. No way would I leave my family, but I had to. They told me with tears that I would have a wonderful life in America. My parents received their visas to go to Israel. What I knew about Israel, what did I know about Israel at the time? They left me with old friends in Belgium and Brussels. I did not know them, but it was love at first sight. I love Aunt Fanny and Uncle Herman. That's what I called them. They were the very first Jewish people I've ever met and liked. So my life began. We took the train to Marseille to catch the Liberté. This is the ship I came on. It was the most luxurious ship you've ever seen. Bone china and crystal, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. And this is the list of the passengers, and my name is right here, Claire Lamberger, right up the before the end. So you could come up here later and you can look at it. And by the way, my name was not Carol. I was born with the name of Claire. That's what my father used to call me, Claire de Lune. You know what that means? Moonlight. Okay, so my life began. We took the train to the Liberté. What a luxurious boat it was. From Marseille to Havre, we were on the high seas for 7 days. My aunt taught me a song I'd never heard of before, and I didn't know I would learn it so well. God Bless America. Little did I know it was written by a Jew. Does anybody know who wrote God Bless America? Irving Berlin. He wrote 1,450 songs and never had a music lesson in his life. His parents were too poor. He started in the 1890 something. Yes. And what the Statue of Liberty would have such an emotional impact on me. A door closed, my past was gone. I opened a new one. June 10, 1954. I was on deck, put my hand over my heart, and sang God Bless America. A new world opened to me, a Jewish world I've never known before. My heroes became larger and larger in front of my eyes. They have touched my heart in so many, many ways, and they will remain my heroes for as long as I live. The golden door opened for me, and I entered it with tears and joy. This place called America. This is my grandmother's grave in Poland in the early 1900s. I don't have any more than this. I did have, but I don't know what my adopted mother did with them. Beautiful. And this is the violin my father played. He taught himself to play the violin because he was so upset about my mother gone. He loved her so much. Oh, you can't hear me. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the violin. It's in the archive in the the Holocaust Museum. Yeah. This is a letter from, I don't know if you know him, but he's at the Holocaust Museum. I can't handle everything. Okay, this is in Polish, and it's my mother's story where she was born in Russia, believe it or not, in a little town called Kortzen, and this is all her story where she was born. At least I got some closure with my mother. This is a little boy that I was raised with that I considered my brother. And I really let into him. I was so mean. I was, because he decided to cross the street one day without looking if a car was coming. Oh my God, the car almost hit him. So I beat him up. I was scared, that's why. He was the love of my life, Michel. He came to see me in 1971. No, 1970. 1971 was the big earthquake, and that's when my father came to visit me. This is my adopted mother and father in Poland. This is, I have a great big picture like the paintings there of my mother and father at home, but it's so heavy I couldn't bring it here. But this is my mom. She's the one that was taken away, along with all my family, not the whole entire family went. Yeah, this is my papa. He was the best papa in the whole world. Oh my goodness, I was so mean to him. I was 6 years old, he a holy terror. Yeah, and this is my father when he was 18 in Belgium. Yes, and that's all I have. A copy of my birth certificate. Yeah, naissance, 1941. Okay, number. Yeah. Okay, this is in French though, and this is in English, and these are letters that my father wrote to himself about my mother, what she wished for a little garden with flowers, and she never got it because she was taken away. But it's not a story about just me. It's about the village that saved my life. And to this day, I adore those people. They are my heroes. The whole village saved my life. We had no telephone. So they came from door to door down the mountain, down the hill, and they, told the Gestapo's in town, hide clear. So they did. They put me in the suburb, saved my life. And there's lots of, I went through a little bit. I want to tell you, I was flying up the hill one day with some friends, and the little girl was very young. She was 3 years younger than I was. She was about 7 years old. I was about 10. And I said, you can play with us. You know how older children are like you. You don't want to play with little ones, right? Right. So what happened? She went to her mom, and all of a sudden, it was like a monster was in front of me. She took her fist, I'll never forget this, and she punched me in the stomach. Now, I was 11 years old by that time, and it could have caused a lot of damage. And she was so mad. My family was so angry, but they couldn't do anything. Here she would be in jail, that lady, for doing that to a child. But there, nothing. So that's what happened. But I sure appreciate America. And we're going through a tough time, but I want to tell you something. We're going to come on top of it. All of you, all of us are going to be okay. We have to believe that, right? Right. So that's about it. You're welcome to come up and examine all my documents one by one. And I'm very happy to be here. I have a granddaughter. Oh, I forgot a picture of Kylie. Oh, she just graduated UCSB, and she's going into a very hard field, and I feel bad for her. But there's nothing I can do. She's what you call it? Archaeologist. That's it. And she's getting there, but it takes time. Yeah. So that's why I only have one granddaughter and 2 children. I didn't take a picture of Heidi and Gary. Oh my God, what am I doing? No, I forgot pictures of my kids. That's terrible. What kind of a mother? Anyway, that's what happened. And I hope for a world of peace, all of us. And I hope and pray that whatever you believe in, you are allowed to believe in. Because, like that gentleman said, all the stories are true. I heard them before many times. Stories about people like you mentioned. Oh my goodness. I want to tell you something funny. Did you ever see a movie called Europa? Teachers? You have. Do you remember when he had a toothache? I want to tell the children. This young man was told that if he ever heard a siren in front of his house, to run the other way. It was the Nazis, in fancy cars, Mercedes Benz. So he came home one day and the siren was on. So he ran the other way. And of course, he was Jewish. They killed his parents, they killed his grandparents. No, his grandparents killed themselves. They took a pill and they committed suicide because they didn't want to die at the hand of the Nazis. So that's what happened. So one day they had an inspection. The Nazis had an inspection. They were checking all the men that were in the, there. He was an interpreter. So just before the Nazis got to him, he said, oh, my tooth is hurting me, ouch. And they extracted the tooth, but it wasn't the tooth. You can imagine they wanted it, they would have discovered he was a Jew because he was circumcised. And so that's what happened. Remember that? Oh, I'll never forget that. But I also saw movies like Trial of Nuremberg and Anne Frank. Oh, my goodness, what they did. It was awful. I want to tell you a little bit about my father. My father was in the underground. He worked for the underground so that people could be safe. No matter who it was, he wanted to save people. So they got him out of the concentration camp, but he landed in France, not Belgium, in France, in the compound. That means in the fields, flat fields. And what happened? The dogs came at him and took his scalp. They just took his scalp. And these people discovered him, farmers discovered him, kind people, and they took him home and they nursed him back to life. It wasn't until a year and a half later that he could go back to Belgium and to me and to my mom. And 2 weeks later, she was taken. So what happened is that, the people took him, and he said they always had a smile for him. They always had something kind to say to him. They bathed him and changed his bandages. And 2 years later, he could travel by train. So he went home. But these people, these farmers, saved his life in the compound. My father was a lovable kid. It was funny. When we came here to America, we were going out to dinner, my father and my husband and I, my father. He said, no. I stay home with the babysitter. You can go out to dinner. He was so funny. He was so funny. And he found something funny to say about everything until he came the last time to America, the second time, and I discovered a letter in a drawer, and he was dying of cancer. So he says to me, when he knew I saw the letter, and what happened? I said, why didn't you tell me? He said, I didn't want you to be hurt any further, you know. I said, Papa, things like that you should tell me. So that's what happened. He died of cancer. But he came to me, he came here twice, and he even played football with my son in the backyard. He was just a baby, 6 months old. Yeah. So then, sorry, I don't have pictures of my children. No. Anyways, that's what happened. But my papa suffered so much when my mother was taken. He didn't stop crying. He was just so upset. My aunt, her sister, also the whole family. Only one brother escaped. And Roosevelt, believe it or not, my parents worship President Roosevelt. I don't. He was not a good president. You know what he did? Do you know what he did?
He saved capitalism.
What he did was he sent back ships full of refugees back to the concentration camp. That's a good president? No, not in my book. He took people's life. He did not give life. His wife, however, should have been the president, Eleanor Roosevelt. She was the best of the best. And I don't know if you learned that in history about the Roosevelt, but that's what I know. That's all I know. Anyways, I'm so sorry. You're welcome to come up. Oh, I forgot to mention this book. This is 100 years old, over 100. Emma Lazarus. You know who she was? I'll tell you who she was. She wrote, "Give me your tired, your poor," at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. She wrote all this. She wrote that poem. And hardly anybody knows about her. It's called The New Colossus. You know it, right? Yeah. So that's what happened. Anyways, I have so many stories to tell, but it would take all day, and I don't want to take your whole day. You must be tired of listening to this kind of thing. But you're welcome to come and inspect everything. I don't have much, but whatever I have, I treasure. And thank you for listening to me. I know it's not very long, but did I speak long enough? Okay. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a bright future. All of you. Remember that education is the most important thing in your life. And with that comes peace, because when you have the mind is working, peace comes along. And that's what happened. I love children. Oh, I love all of you. I just love children from my heart. I have two beautiful children, and they are the love of my life. And all of you matter, all of you. If someone tells you something, don't just listen, tell them back. I don't like what you said to me. You don't be quiet anymore. You say something, right? Right. I don't care who you are or what you are. You fight for yourself. And that's what happened. The whole story. Okay, sweetheart, thank you so much for listening. Have a good life. Shalom.
Before we have you come up, if you like to see photos, does anybody have any questions for Carol?
Oh.
Yes, over here. I'll let you.
I was wondering what got you through the hard time.
Sorry, I didn't know.
What got you through the hard times? What got you through the hard times?
What?
What got you through the hard times?
Oh, love. Love. Love is the most important. I got love from the people who rescued me. They loved me so much. I was like their child. So that's why I got through it. Otherwise, if I didn't have love, I could not have gotten through it. To this day, I just love to hug. I love children. I love people. And I don't care who you are. You know, if you're a decent person and a nice person, you have a smile on your face. I love you. That's how it is. Yeah, love took me through the hard times. Oh, you want to, I want them to,
Yes.
yeah.
What was your favorite thing about your father?
About my father, seeing him. Oh yeah, there was a story behind that. Okay, my father took me out every Sunday and we went to the lake. It was a man-made lake. And Coke was just invented, of course, in America. Well, it spread to Belgium. Okay, and now the most famous resort place in Belgium is that Lake Loverval, Couille Loverval. Okay, so my father took me there for the first time, and I tasted the Coke for the first time. I didn't like it. It tasted like medicine. It's different now, but it was terrible then. And so, but it wasn't the Coke, it was seeing my father. He took me and we walked in the woods and we had a good time, just, quality time. And he was such a wonderful, oh, he was wonderful. Nobody had a better father. But I'm sure my mother was good too, but I didn't have a chance to know her. So that's what happened. Anything else?
There's many stories you shared where there were moments of kindness and humanity. Was there one moment that really stood out to you?
The what?
Stories of kindness and humanity. What stood out to you?
Stories of kindness and humanity. Is there a story of kindness and humanity that stood out to you?
Kindness. Yes. Lots of people were kind to me, especially the people who raised me. I was with them 10 years, and they were my staunch friends. When that happened at school, they came running and they changed my school. And they didn't stop telling me how beautiful I was and how nothing would make a difference, but I would always be pretty, and they instilled in me the confidence, to go on and be proud of myself. Yeah. And there's so many things, so many things, but a lot of them were not so good. They were, anti-Semitic, and that's what I would like to see erased in this world, is anti-Semitism. There is no reason for this. We didn't do anything to anybody, right? So that's like like anybody. So I want to say that I pray to God, I pray now more than ever, because we are in a compromising situation, and I hope and pray this goes away too, and we come up. Yeah.
Are you still in contact with any of the people who saved you?
Are you in contact with any of the people that saved
No, they all died many years ago. Oh no, they're gone. They would be 120. Yeah, I remember my uncle Cyril, I called him my uncle. He says, the first dance belongs to me. Yeah, and then my parents deposited me at these people's house in Brussels that I never met. And I missed my family so much. I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, and I'll confess it wasn't right. But my heart was to see my family again. And family gave me money to go buy meat which I couldn't stand. I don't eat meat. So what happened is, she gave me money to buy meat. I went in Brussels, in the city, and I said, I don't want to buy meat. And I went to the train station, and I got a ticket to go back to see my family. Unfortunately, somebody knew me on the train. It was a small city. So Brussels is not so big, believe me. To this day, it's not so big. So what happened? He called. He got off the train and called Papa to tell him that I was on a train. And so of course I wasn't allowed to go to see the family. But Aunt Fanny and Uncle Herman, they invited the family over to Brussels for a day. It was 2 hours away from the little village. So they came to visit me, and I cried and I cried. Oh my goodness, to this day. But I remember them with a smile because they were so loving to me and so compassionate, and there was nothing there nasty except the brother. Oh, I remember him. One of the brothers came to visit from Flanders. I don't know if you know Flanders, it's very anti-Semitic. So what happened, he came over and he said, why did you take in this Jewish child? I said, I'm not Jewish. What did they tell you? What's a Jew? I don't know the difference between this and this. We're all the same skin and all the same bones and all the same blood, the color and everything. Why should we fight like this? And he says to me, you'll never get any thanks from her. And this is what I heard. No, I love those people. Oh my gosh, they were fantastic. And for education, oh boy, that was the most important thing. Education, yeah. Anything else? Anybody else?
What stopped you from running when your hair got burned?
What stopped me from what?
What stopped you from running when your hair got burned?
What stopped you from running when your hair got burned? Your hair?
Yes.
Did your hair?
My hair?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, I didn't run, I cried. I was sitting in a chair and I cried my eyes out. And then the family came and picked me up and they went home. Oh, they were so mad. They were so angry. But there's nothing they could have done. She was a sick lady, she was mentally disturbed. So, you have to give for that. What can you do, So that's what happened. But I'm so glad. The reason I'm not happy to be able to speak like this, I'm not happy that I'm speaking to you about things like that. I just want children to get the meaning when they get older and they get to be adults, that they get the meaning of not hating. That word hate has to be out of the dictionary. It's not a good word, right? Right. So that's what I have to say. The word hate I would like to eliminate it and bring it and never have to mention it. But right now, I don't know what's happening. We have to pray to God that there is no, something. Thank you so much, and you're welcome to come and see all that. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Okay.
I was wondering, what was your first work or school experience after the war? And was it good? Or
The
did you
school
like it?
I went to was a convent, Catholic.
And I remember I had patent leather shoes, and we have Roman pavements all the way down the hill and all the way down. It was Roman from the Roman times. And it went click, click, beautiful sound on the floor, and I love that. On my way to church, that's why I like to go to church. The longer I walk, the longer I heard the clicking. Yeah, so, I learned from both religion. I used to know, I want you to know, I used to know Latin better than any of my friends. And I used to know, but now I only remember one verb. Amos, amas, amat, amatis, amatus, amat. That's all I remember. I don't remember another word. Oh, quo vadis, where you going? So that's it. That's all I remember. Is that something? If you don't practice, forget it. You have to practice. Practice makes perfect, right? Right. And I hope you all do that, because I don't care who you are, you're beautiful, don't let anybody to tell you anything different. Each of you is a beautiful soul, and each of you can reach up to the past the moon, past the stars, and that's what you have to reach for. Not aliens, the stars. Okay. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'm here.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions, or we good? One more over here. They love hearing your answers.
What was your first job after the war? What was your job like after the war? Oh, okay.
You were a teacher?
Yeah, I was. My daughter's a teacher too. Yep. Anyways, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. It's hot, but it's cool in here, and it's cool in your classroom, right? When I went to school, guess what? There was no air conditioner. Oh my goodness, we put our head down on the desk, and we prayed the heat would go away. But it never did. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Carol, so much. Thank you, everybody. Lucy's invited you to come up and talk to her, look at the photographs. Thank you all.